Welcome everyone to week 8. It's good. I think we had a great week last week with going over a lot of important things from those case examples. I think I'm already jumping ahead of myself, ready to just jump into that. Overall, in this video, I guess I'll outline it really quick first. So, discussion post. I'm going to address that, just some thoughts on that. I'm going to briefly talk about the self-report autobiography assignment that's due this coming Saturday on the 12th of March. And then I'll share some reactions vaguely on the articles. I'm actually not going to go into the articles like I often have, but I'm going to share just an example of kind of how career counseling services are applied in a university and college setting. So less specifics on the articles, but just providing an example. All right, so discussion posts. I felt like there was a great, all the case examples, especially with the idea of a career crisis and transitions, that I think it was really easy to see that career counseling is personal counseling, that these are really, personal decisions that impact us kind of at a core level, or they can for a lot of clients. So there was, an emphasis on those basic counseling skills, no matter what, perspective or approach, everyone is utilizing. There's different, elements of different theories and approaches that were talked about, but for the most part, everyone was understanding that the therapeutic process is a common factor. So I felt like that was a strength of this week. And I wanted to talk about, because we're doing, case examples pretty regularly, I wanted to talk about, I've been thinking about the ACA Code of Ethics and the specific code C7A. So it's under the treatment modality section. That's C7 in the Code of Ethics. And C7A is on the scientific basis for treatment when providing services. So I want to bring this one up because when we're doing case examples and talking about how we would intervene to support a client, I think it's really important to remember this code. So let me just read it really quick. It says, when providing services, counselors use techniques, procedures, modalities that are grounded in theory and or have an empirical or scientific foundation. So that's why I'm often asking for interventions and asking, it usually asks you kind of to connect two elements of career development theory. So that's a really important emphasis, whenever we're intervening, and this is for mental health counseling, school counseling, career counseling, for all, there's, once again, the common factor is that to be ethical, we need to make sure that we're drawing from theory and or scientific, evidence-based practices and foundations. So just something to be thinking about when you're doing these cases. Make sure that you're, I guess, a way like that. It's incredibly important to found all of our interventions like with intentionality, like conceptualizing the client based on a theory, based on evidence. And our personal reactions are totally going to be a part of that too. Like our personal reactions or personal experiences usually is the reason why we kind of like resonate with a certain theory or, evidence-based approach. But yeah, I just wanted to bring this up to really make sure that no matter what, even I think part of the reason why this code is there to make sure that our personal reactions aren't taking the lead in how we intervene, but the theory and the evidence-based practices. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I think that's an important thing for all approaches. And in the end, it's that's what kind of separates us from like other types of helping professions, from like possibly even coaching, like career coaching in this example. But kind of having that theoretical basis is helps us help the client more and kind of consider the unique cultural context of the client. But yeah, it just kind of informs what choices we make and how to intervene with clients. All right. Yeah, there's some thoughts on that for, treatment modalities, and just be thinking about that. Be thinking about, based on your experience, there's going to be like kind of a personal resonance with different approaches. Some you'll be like, that one's not for me. And that's totally okay. But just kind of continue to be kind of thinking about what approaches, what theories, what research connects with how I believe it is best to work with a client. So some guiding questions could be, in kind of making these decisions about which interventions to use with clients is, what are your beliefs about the role of the counselor? How should the counselor help? What does the counselor do? What environment do they help create? And then how is that done? So I think that's some of those guiding questions can be helpful in really having a deep foundation, a deep root, being really grounded in an approach, because that'll really guide you for a long time in how you intervene with clients. So yeah, even if the approach is more directive or more passive and non-directive, in the end, as long as there's theory that's supporting the client, that it's doing no harm, that it's helpful to the client, and that basic counseling skills are, part of that process, you'll be on a solid path with clients. Okay, yeah, I've just been kind of reflecting on that because, I think we've just kind of jumped into a lot of case studies and asking for interventions with, and I know all of you are kind of at different places of how many classes you've taken, and maybe some of you have taken counseling theories, maybe some of you haven't, maybe, so I just wanted to give a little bit of perspective there. All right, so let's shift to the self-report and autobiography assignment. So I'm not going to go over this a lot because I already created a video on this. So go to the announcements, because I posted a video where I go over the rubric and I go over kind of the description of the assignment. So make sure you're just taking time to thoroughly know what the expectations are and that you follow those guidelines. I'm not saying exactly what you have to write, but just kind of the general framework. As long as in general you meet those requirements, you're going to do well. And remember APA format, APA 7th edition is what we're going to be utilizing. So make sure that you're citing when you need to. Even though it's like a personal autobiography, I'm asking you to kind of draw in different counseling approaches and career development theories. So make sure to do that well. And it's okay to write in first person, even with APA. I think that's kind of like a misnomer that it's not okay to use first person when you're using APA, but actually the APA manual doesn't say anything about that. It's okay to use first person. All right, that's all I'll bring up there. Feel free to keep reaching out to me with questions, though. I'm happy to help, as I know this week is leading up to that submission. All right, so the articles this week two of them talk about the social cognitive career approach, and talks about self-efficacy, outcome expectation, goals, and kind of the importance of context and culture. So the reason why I briefly wanted to name that is these articles, if they kind of connect with you and resonate with you, they can kind of help inform your paper as well. You could choose to talk about social cognitive career theory in your autobiography. I know it's the last one, so there's not as much time to kind of chew on it and make sense of it and apply it to the paper, but it is an option, as you'll see in the assignment description. Okay, what I want to end with today is, instead of going into kind of the nuances of the articles, I wanted to talk about giving an example of career counseling in a university setting. So I've talked about already quite a bit that I've been a career counselor at the University of Wyoming, and then I was the manager of career counseling. So I was promoted this role of career counselor, and there wasn't a clear indication of, what do we do in career counseling? There's no clear mission or vision of how our beliefs as a team, as a group, as an organization. So I kind of started that role by thinking, what is career counseling? What do we as a team believe is career counseling? Because if we're not clear on that together, if we don't have conversations about that, then it's likely that the campus community won't even understand what we do. Then they won't know when to refer students. Students won't know when to come in because they don't even know what we do. So I think that first step of clearly defining, what are we? Who are we? What do we believe in? What's our purpose as a group, as an organization? So as a team, we worked on creating that. We had these conversations of, what do we believe should be our mission statement, our learning objectives? What do we hope that students get out of career counseling? And then we also developed assessment, procedures, like to regularly, semester and annually, to check in, like, are we actually successfully implementing this mission and these learning objectives. So I think that process is really important, because sometimes you might see, oh, this organization has a mission statement, but it's pretty disconnected from the actual pragmatic details of what is going on in the organization. So the importance of assessment is, like, we are regularly assessing directly, specific even language from our learning objectives and mission statement. So that assessment process it's a continuous reminder of, like, what do we do as a team and how is it actually helping the community? So I think, mission, objectives, whether it's learning objectives or outcome objectives, and then the assessment kind of keeps the team on track for meeting that goal. So I'm going to share my screen with you really quick, because I'm just going to share the document with you from the University of Wyoming. So this, when I was there, gotta change this. Okay. When I was there, this is actually the document that I helped create. That's still part of this organization. But so, for example, here's the first part of the mission statement. Career counselors support the mission and strategic plan of the University of Wyoming by helping students from all backgrounds identify academic, career, and life goals, develop greater self and social awareness, collaboratively overcome barriers. And that's where the mental health barriers would often be an element of that. And then help students implement academic, career, and life goals. So maybe that's internship for some students. Maybe it's doing an occupational interview, job shadowing, volunteering. So kind of we started with, the initial career exploration, life exploration in general, which enhances self-awareness, chances like the influence that others have in our lives. So the social awareness, then often for a lot of students, then there are barriers that they kind of need to work through in finding that career path, and then we help implement. So one example of this, so for identifying academic, career, and life goals, one of the learning objectives was, it's a little small, so I'll just read it still. So students will learn how to develop academic, career, and life goals as they clarify their values, personality, interests, skills, and or abilities. So we kind of took it a step further of, like, so how do we do that? How do we help students, explore and implement and identify academic, career, and life goals? So it's through values, it's through personality, interests, skills, abilities. So so maybe that means sometimes we do assessments, like an interest assessment or a personality assessment. Maybe it's just discussion of those topics or values. So then we'd be able to assess at the end of the year or on a semester basis, like, we'd ask questions similar to, like, career counseling helped me understand how my values relate to my career path. And then we'd have a Likert item of strongly disagree to strongly agree. So that's one example of how you can kind of set up an intervention, set up a program that's based in a larger mission that has learning objectives. Then it's, then you intervene to meet those objectives, and then you assess. And let me share one more screen here. So this right here is actually a presentation that we'd sometimes go to classrooms and give to students. So we would just talk about, what is career counseling? So here's our mission statement. We talk about my face might be in the way there. It is on my screen. So identify life, career, once again, just those four elements. But then we'd also talk about students' major. We're in the university setting. So what's your major? We help you figure out that major. But we also want to help you recognize, how is your major connected to a larger career direction? So it's not just like, here's a random major, but I don't understand what it leads to or what it could lead to. But then we went one step further, and also, like, I'd regularly talk about, your major. It's important to know how your major connects to your career, but it's also important to have your career connect to your sense of meaning in life. So it's not just like career is disconnected from the rest of life. So we talk about what's most important in your life, who you are as a person, what's going on in your life roles, and how that influences your career, how that influences your major decision making. Okay, let me stop the share. So those are just some examples. Oh, I'm pushing all sorts of things. Just one second. Okay. I was talking kind of quick there. Hopefully that was helpful to kind of see what can, a career development or career counseling, career advising type approach actually look like pragmatically on the campus, and maybe some things to consider. And I'll just a few thoughts here. So after we developed this mission statement, the objectives, this assessment process, then we were more, I guess, able and ready to share it with campus. So we shared it with our campus partners. We shared it with students. So we had a unified vision, and we could really, so students started to really understand when they needed to come meet with us as opposed to other services on campus. And also campus partners knew when to refer students to us and what what domain we covered. Because before it wasn't really, they didn't really understand much about like the personal exploration that was going on. It's more like, oh, you need a resume. Okay, go there. Oh, you need an assessment. Go there. So it kind of broadened the vantage point or view of what we covered. So this led to some partnerships that were really crucial. So we started to work with the English department because we noticed, a lot of first year students are going to be taking English 101. So maybe that's a perfect time to reach out to freshmen so they're getting a clear vision of what career counseling is from the very start. And oftentimes they're making a lot of choices and kind of changing their mind pretty early on. So we wanted to kind of capture students' attention early. We also worked with the first year experience program. So that included, going to first year seminars, because that, on the UW campus, that was required for all freshmen. Everyone had to take the first year seminar in the first year. So we went to tons of first year seminar classrooms, English 101, English 102. We went at orientation. So before even students started, we shared a lot with undecided or undeclared students about how career counseling can be helpful. It also led to a partnership with athletics. The athletics department was really excited about, helping their student athletes really kind of find more meaningful career goals and not just an emphasis on athletics. So yeah, I think it all started though with that mission, having a clear, identity as an organization, as a team, and then being able to share that unified voice with campus. I think it led to, a lot more student contact. We had about, I think it was 384 student contacts the year before we implemented this new mission and, kind of pushing to talk to a lot more students. And then I think we had about 1,200 contacts with students the next year after we implemented this and started pushing it through. So a lot of that was just that we met with a lot more groups. We went into classrooms all the time. I would sometimes talk to groups of like 100, 150 students in orientation sessions. But, I think beforehand it was just seen as like this side service. So we had to be kind of innovative of thinking of, okay, when do we need to be communicating this? So it's almost like this marketing and business perspective, this lens of being entrepreneurial. Not that we're selling a product, but we are selling our service to campus, selling this idea or persuading of helping inform them of why they would need this. So I think that applies to mental health counseling too, especially if you ever go into private practice. You need to be able to kind of clearly share your approach and who you are as a professional. Same as school counseling, even just with, helping the upper administration, principals, helping teachers understand what the role of the school counselor is. So I think this is relevant to all forms of counseling. Okay, so I think I'll pause there for the week for this video, but I look forward to once again engaging with you another week and to look at your papers. My goal is to be getting after grading those quickly so you can get some feedback and know how things went there. And so yeah, keep reaching out if you need anything. I'm happy to help.